come back to order. Senator Ayotte.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Flournoy and General Petraeus, I want to welcome both of you and thank you for your distinguished service to our country. I also want to associate myself with the remarks of Senator Lieberman. You truly are a role model about what it means to be a public servant, and we are deeply grateful and honored to have you serving us in Afghanistan and what you have done for our country. I also want to thank you for the sacrifices that the troops that serve underneath you are making on our behalf. I had the privilege of meeting you in January when we went to Afghanistan. I was very encouraged to see the progress that has been made there. And I think sometimes the press focuses often on the bad things that happen, and the progress that is being made there is not reported about enough. In particular, I was very impressed with the military training center, as Senator Inhofe mentioned, particularly the work done by General Caldwell in standing up the Afghan troops to allow them to carry forward with this conflict and work with you, and then, of course, when we transition, to allow them to protect their own country. I also had the opportunity to meet with so many of our brave soldiers who are working along with their Afghan counterparts, and very impressed with, for example, walking through the village in Nawa, where months before I would have never been able to do that. Now more than ever, I think it's important for us to follow through on our commitment in Afghanistan to make sure that Afghanistan does not become a haven for terrorists again, and that we disrupt the terrorist networks there and in Pakistan to make sure that our country and our allies are protected. I would like to ask you today about the amount of money that we're spending on contracting in Afghanistan. In 2009, the U.S. and NATO common funding expenditures for contracting in Afghanistan amounted to roughly $14 billion. This is obviously a very significant amount of money, and one of the issues that I know that you are concerned about, both of you, is the issue of contracting funds ending up in the hands of power brokers and those that are working with our enemies and working to undermine us. I want to commend you, General Petraeus, as well as Secretary Flournoy, for the efforts that are being undertaken right now to make sure that U.S. dollars are not getting in the hands of the wrong people. For example, I know, General Petraeus, that you have put together a contracting guidance that was issued in September 2010 that is very important to make sure that we are getting the money where it is supposed to go. I believe that more work must be done, however, to fully implement the guidance that you have brought forward. I believe that the law must be reformed to allow you to more quickly terminate contracts that directly or indirectly benefit our enemies, and to ensure that no additional funds go to those who undermine our interests or attack our troops. For this reason, Senator Brown and I recently introduced legislation to quickly allow us to terminate the flow of money that goes to the wrong people. General Petraeus, I thank you for the feedback that you gave Senator Brown and I on that legislation. We will be incorporating your comments. I just wanted to ask you, General, what your view is on this type of legislation and the need for it.
Well, my view is very simple, Senator. The sooner the better. As my comments back to you indicated, that would be very helpful to us. Indeed, the fact is that we were not spending anywhere near enough time, energy, or sheer man-hours in focusing on where our money was going. Now, don't misinterpret that, please. We knew with whom we were contracting. We knew who the subcontractors were, but literally down there in the subs to the subs, occasionally we found out that money is actually going to the insurgents, or there is bribery, corruption, or some other activity that's going on. The counterinsurgency contracting guidance, in the past I've always issued counterinsurgency guidance, and in that guidance we have this phrase, money is ammunition at a certain point in a fight. In this case, I said if money is ammunition, we need to make sure it gets into the right hands. and that was part of the counterinsurgency contracting guidance. We subsequently developed Task Force Shafafiyat Transparency. Brigadier General H.R. McMasters is in charge of that to come to grips with our Afghan partners with the whole issue of, again, criminal patronage networks and how they undermine the very institutions to which we need to transition tasks in the months and years ahead. We also formed two subordinate task forces, 2010 and Spotlight. One to look at all contracts, review every single contract to the best of our ability with much greater intelligence focus on them, and the other to focus specifically on the issue of private security contracts. Again, a subset which we believe we have reached an agreement with the Afghan government, again, one that I think was of understandable concern, an issue of understandable concern to President Karzai, that you cannot have armed groups being funded through our contracts, running around the country. We call them road warriors in some cases, and they actually were becoming part of the security problem rather than necessarily a solution to it. These groups have enabled us now, in the past year or so alone, to debar some 9 contractors, to suspend several dozen others that are pending debarment, and to terminate a number of contracts as well. Although, again, it's a difficult and laborious process without the legislation that you have proposed, which is why we strongly support it.
Thank you very much, General. I also wanted to follow up to, I believe, a request that has been made from CENTCOM Contracting Command, and perhaps the Secretary could comment on this as well.